Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Murdock, and welcome back to Court. I'm here with Happy Hogan, and we're going to talk about the movie Daredevil.
Yeah, so I guess I'll come out straight here and say that this is my first time watching the director's cut. I've seen the original cut, and while I think that the director's cut is better, I don't think that it is a fantastic movie. But I think that, Noah, you should share your thoughts first, because let's start with some positivity before I go in.
Okay. Okay. This is a 5-star movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like the X-Men movies where I grew up with it.
Right.
Some of it is more like just me thinking some of it's funny, like Bullseye, for instance, or like this one scene in the movie, which I'll always think this is hilarious, when they got that case for that one guy, and he asked him, "Are you innocent?" And the guy's like, "Yeah,
Oh,
hell yeah, hell yeah."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I believe you." So I thought that was funny, like that kind of stuff. That's funny to me.
Right.
But I really like Ben Affleck's Matt Murdock. I think it's really good. I also enjoy Jon Favreau as Foggy Nelson, and he gets a bigger role in the director's cut here. And I do think that all the action is very on par with the 2000s Marvel movies. I mean, also Michael Clark Duncan, Kingpin, perfect. I mean, the only thing that I think isn't perfect is Bullseye's casting, but hey, they were going for something else there, weren't they?
Yeah, and here, I will be straight up with you. I came back, I changed my score after watching the director's cut and just rewatching this film. I think it's better than what I previously said about this movie. But it's not perfect. One thing, I do agree the casting is great. You know what's so funny is I specifically have it written down in my notes to talk about it a little bit later on, is about Ben Affleck as Daredevil. Because he does a great job as Daredevil, which is funny because if you know anything about Point C lore, I hated Ben Affleck as Batman. I think that he fits Daredevil, well, especially this young Ben Affleck, fits way better.
Yeah, he looks. You look at the comics, Matt Murdock. He looks exactly like him. Like I think Ben Affleck, he just has a comic book guy face. You know.
He really does. I do agree with you. He does very much have that look because he has the very stereotypical, attractive model man face, right? Which is what a lot of these superheroes are based off of. What I also will mention is that I like the opening act of this film a lot. I actually think that
I was going to talk about that actually. Yeah, like the opening all the way up until he meets Elektra is like just phenomenal movie. You know, it's just great. I think when he meets Elektra, the movie starts to get a little more bloated, and it starts to be like kind of just, oh, we're doing this, and this happens on the same day as this happening, and then it's just, you know, typical comic book movie stuff. Just the first the opening stuff about his origin and everything is just so good. I don't know, man.
I have it written down here in all caps, amazing origin. And the reason why I say that is because, especially of this era, we had so many fucking origin films, right? And while we still love the Raimi trilogy, I mean, this concisely covers Daredevil's origin story in 25 minutes, and then that's it. Yes, well, the whole film was technically an origin film. It's not like Batman films or Spider-Man films where the whole film is holy shit, I'm becoming this amazing superhero. But then, we don't actually see him do the superhero shit until the last act. That doesn't really happen in this movie, and I will give it credit for that. But what takes me out of it is two things. Number one, the CGI in this film is fucking god-awful. It is the most 2003 shit I've ever seen. And oh, fucking Christ. In some of the action scenes, you really feel it. And every time that we look in Matt Murdock's fucking eyeballs, as he's hearing and feeling the world around him, that shit looks awful. Especially the first time it happens when he loses his eyesight. that fucking CGI looked straight out of Spy Kids, man. That shit looked awful. And then the other thing that bugs me is the soundtrack. The soundtrack is so 2003, and like
wake me up inside.
Yeah, like throughout this film, it does that kind of shit. Like, yeah, like Noah just mentioned the "Wake Me Up Inside," but it's
I don't listen to that song unironically. I think it's funny that it's in the movie.
Oh, it's so funny.
One that I hate that's in the movie is whatever the hell they decided to play during the funeral scene. Oh my god, what the heck was that? Dude, I hate that kind of music so much.
Yeah, they put all kinds of weird ass fucking, like, okay, it's so 2003 in that way. Like, the song, there's Green Day in this fucking movie. Like, there's so many songs that every single time I watch this film, I laugh because it's like, because it screams, yeah, I'm 14 years old and I love this movie. Because if we were 14 in 2003, yeah, it makes sense. But like in the 2024 perspective, it's so funny to point and laugh at. But I will agree with Noah that I think that almost every single action scene in this movie slaps, except for, well, it's not really an action scene, but the first one when he's a kid and he beats that kid up with his cane, that's kind of.
I loved it. I love it.
Looks a little. To me, it just looks a little weird, but.
And by the way, I saw somebody on Letterboxd point out about the CGI in the church fight with Bullseye.
Yeah.
That it looks like Shrek.
You know what's kind of funny is I specifically,
and it does.
Yeah. I specifically had that fight scene written down here because that's like the worst one. And I get it, like there's certain things that like a person couldn't do. Like you couldn't. So like I get it, and it was 2003, so our special effects weren't exactly great, but Jesus, man, at times it's like at some points it just makes it way too evident that it's a 2003 movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does that.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I you know me and how I prefer my superhero films. It's not bad though. Like I will be real and say that like I'm not going to be as harsh as I would have been like a week ago. Like I won't be. But it's still not a movie that I'm going to put on all the time. The director's cut though really does improve a lot. Like I really did enjoy Jon Favreau's character more in this version. Like actually having some substance here and having some actually funny bits in the film. I mean, like one of my like what joke actually did make me laugh this time around. I don't know if it did the first time, but when he's putting the mustard, or he switches to mustard, and then Daredevil fucking does it when he's not paying. Like that's funny. That is funny. But you know, I don't know. I think in general, Jon Favreau's character did do a good job. But you want to get into the spoilers?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, Elektra's dad dies.
Whoa, you know? Okay, like, back up. We gotta give the warning. We gotta give.
No, nobody cares though.
All right,
let's be real here. Nobody cares.
That's fair. Nobody cares about Daredevil. I think that most. I remember when we found out that this movie existed. I don't think that a lot of people remember. Well, unless you're on CBN.
Yeah, not many people talk about this movie really. Like I didn't know it existed until a couple of years ago. To be honest with you, I was like, wait, they made a Daredevil movie? Fox made a Daredevil movie?
And to be fair, I can't blame people because like, well, it's also this was the only Daredevil thing they did for years. And like, let's face it, Netflix made a way better version. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's also part of it. Like by the time like superheroes became more mainstream, like Netflix was already making Daredevil. So like, what was the reason to come back to this? And it was in the Fox universe that also at that point was pretty much like, yeah, we're done with this shit. Like we're making Logan and that's it. Anyway. Elektra's dad dies.
Yeah, and she thinks Daredevil did it.
Which is another issue I have.
Which was just, it was literally just to make them fight, that's all. I think that's the only reason why they even did that. Yeah. Was so that she would want to fight him and make it seem like the comics, which I like Jennifer Garner as Elektra. I think she's good. And I like her costume and everything. So I think, okay, you're probably gonna not like the Elektra movie, but
okay.
I like that movie, but because it's more toned down, it doesn't have too many things in it. Like Daredevil, they tried to pack so much into it, and there's one little movie they tried to put Bullseye, Elektra, Kingpin, when they literally could have just focused on one of those or two.
Yep. I agree.
So
well,
yeah.
let's face it. Elektra is only here because they were making the Elektra movie.
I don't know about that. They made the Elektra movie because people liked her in this movie, I think.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let's settle this. I'm just so curious. But yeah, no, I do agree that too much is going on in this film, and like Elektra thinking that Daredevil killed her father, I thought was a little fucking ridiculous. Like you mentioned, it's trying to be the comics. It's trying to,
That is honestly something that would be in a comic book, though. Let's be real.
Well, I was going to mention that because this is the era where comic book movies were very much appealing to comic book fans in the sense that they were very like campy.
And it's really weird. Mm-hmm. Really weird that comic book fans then were like, well, it's not comic booky enough, and then people are still saying the same thing now. It's like, oh, but it was more comic booky back then. Okay, which is it?
Oh, it came out in 2005. All right, maybe they made that because of this. Anyway, Jennifer Gardner is a good Elektra. But like the issue that I kind of have here is I'm not the biggest Daredevil reader. Like I like Daredevil, especially as a concept. I still need to watch the Netflix show. Yes, sue me. But it's like when they have their first fight in the alleyway or whatever, and like clearly you have to know something is up with Matt Murdock, right? But then you're then going to act surprised when you take his mask off when you want to kill him, and then you realize it's Matt Murdock. I find that so hard to believe. Like, part of me is like, how did you not fucking realize after your first fight with him in the alleyway?
Yeah, like that's the scene that people hate about this movie for some reason.
Really,
the scene with them, like him trying to get her name.
Oh yeah. Really?
People hate that part for some reason.
Why do people hate that? Because I actually cracked up at that.
They think it's campy, which yes, it's campy, but it's supposed to be funny.
Campy. Yeah. It's like I feel like it's not the first time or the last time that a superhero movie is going to do that. Like I didn't mind that at all. Like I feel like that was a. Now I would say that maybe people are thinking that because then we just kind of act like that scene never happened. And then somehow she still just doesn't realize that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. But I think that Elektra is utilized pretty well in this movie. You already mentioned it. I really think Kingpin is so underutilized in this movie.
Yeah, he is. He needs to... He's perfect casting, though. Like, great really
casting.
Good.
Great casting.
Like, he really puts the fear in you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, more than Vincent D'Onofrio from the show, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Michael Clarke Duncan's Kingpin is better. Vincent D'Onofrio, he would lose a fight with this Kingpin. I'm just going to say that right now. He would lose a fight with this Kingpin. Because oh man, he's got the voice, he's got the strength, he's a big guy. That's literally all you need for Kingpin, and he definitely delivers that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's super intimidating. Like, just like his whole like building aesthetic is super terrifying and shit.
I'm an outlaw.
He actually has one of my favorite lines in the movie is when he tells all the guards to stand down, and then he goes, I grew up in the Bronx, I'll be fine. That's good. That's solid. But yeah, no.
Somebody's talking.
But yeah,
somebody always does.
But yeah, I speaking of that, I really like the set pieces in this movie. I feel like every set piece feels like realistic in a good way, and everything just feels solid, like from a foundational standpoint. Really, my only issue with the set pieces is sort of the problem of trying to shove so many concepts into the movie, where that like the whole thing with Daredevil going to the church, like. You cut out the church, that first church scene, nothing changes about the film. It's no wonder. I mean, we're trying to cover a lot of shit in 2 hours here. Like, not everything got what I think needed the time to shine.
Yeah, they only put that church scenes in there to make the church part of the movie when he goes and fights Bullseye there. Makes sense.
Yeah, but You could. You feel like you could have. I don't know. I guess, but Bullseye though as a whole, to be honest, pretty weak.
He's funny though. I won't lie.
No, he is funny.
That scene on the plane.
Oh yeah, that okay. I did have that written down too, because that's genuinely so funny. Because first of all, she immediately like every single time I've seen this, it makes me laugh because she first of all starts off by just being like, yeah, and then my daughter, she was dating a semi-colored folk, and it's like that is so funny to me. And then like he just immediately he's so fucking annoyed. He can still hear her with headphones on. He just fucking murders her. That's funny.
And let me just ask, how did he make that paperclip straight? That slick? How did he do it?
I don't know.
How did he do it?
I don't know.
How?
Dude's a fucking master, apparently.
So funny when Daredevil hits him right in the middle of the target on his forehead.
Oh yeah, that is pretty solid. And I know that you mentioned it. I partially, at some points, couldn't stand the bullseye joke. They did it too many times. There was one time it was funny, and that's when Daredevil throws him out of the window and he lands on the car. That's funny. But every other time was like, all right, we get the bit, we get it. His name's Bullseye. Ha 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 ha.
I think does he say that in the comics though? I wanna see, because I feel like this one's a little more accurate because to be fair, sue me, but I haven't seen season 3 of the show. Okay, no, they just kind of made him say Bullseye in the movie to be like, yep, that's him. He's just gonna say Bullseye every time he hits something.
It's not that fun. Like the only time I actually thought it was funny is when Daredevil threw him out of the window. That's funny. But it wasn't funny when he killed the bug and he said it. It wasn't funny when he killed the old woman and said it. I feel like he said it another time. Maybe not that. But.
I think it's when he killed Elektra's dad, and then he's like,
you're right.
Bullseye, and he points at his forehead, and he's like, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Huh?
Yeah. Overall, I will say that if you haven't watched this movie, or if you didn't like the original cut, I do say that the director's cut is worth watching. Like, I mean, it definitely made me change my score a little bit. Like, I'm not going to give it a great score or anything like that, but like, I didn't hate it. And like, yes, it still has its issues, but I do think that I think that if you gave Daredevil another shot in this timeline, I think that you could have made a really good movie. But you know, part of it is is that they wanted to do an origin story, but then they're also trying to tell like 3 stories at once. Like it has the issue of the early 2000s superhero films where they're like, oh, there's so many cool villains. Let's tackle all of them. And like X-Men does it, like X-Men is able to do it better because you have so many people on the X-Men that can handle multiple villains. But like in Daredevil, it's tough. And especially the original cut is what, an hour and a half?
Yeah, when I first watched this movie a few years ago, I expected it to be bad, but then I actually liked it.
Yeah, and I didn't like it the first time. Like, I enjoyed it more the second time around. Actually, do we want to give out our final scores before we close out our final thoughts?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, I'm going to give this a 6.5. I think that after watching the director's cut, it definitely made me enjoy it more. Definitely not a perfect Daredevil movie, but it was a good time. And once again, if you don't know how my scores work, I typically don't give the highest scores. So I mean, 6.5 for this fucking thing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's pretty high for you.
If you want me to be real, the theatrical cut was gonna get like a 4 or 3 from me. Like I just, but yeah, no. Yeah, I would say if you haven't seen it, you're not wasting your time. But I mean, it was a fun time. But yeah.
Listen, man, all these like a fraction of these movies is gonna get anything less, but I'm gonna give it a 10.
Okay.
I really enjoy it. I'm gonna be real with you.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I get that. And hey, it's not like my VVS.
That's the director's cut, though. That's the theatrical cut would probably get like a 6 or a 7 from me.
That's fair. All right. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that was our thoughts on the Daredevil director's cut. Next time, what are we covering now? What's next? Is it Elektra, or are we doing? I forget what order we said.
All right. So the next one is Elektra.
Okay. Next week.
Unless you want to do Fantastic Four before Elektra.
Nope, I would.
What do you want to do?
I want to get the. I'm guessing that I'm not going to like Elektra, so let's just get the shit out of the way.
All right, yeah. So down in the description, you're going to find the links to all our Twitters, the Point C Twitter, my Twitter, Hunter's Twitter. You're also going to find the link to the Discord. Please join that Discord chat if you want to hear more about when we do things, why we do things, how we do things, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And also, who we're doing it with.
Exactly. And sometimes, and we're going to try to use it more, especially when it comes to streams and like Minecraft and shit like that, where you guys can come and chill with us, because, I mean, we're a small community, so we can do that. And of course, you know, more people are joining, so thank you once again for supporting us, and we really appreciate you guys being here. And yeah, anyways, have a good rest of your night, guys.